What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 24 of my Eastside Hockey Manager Early Access Let's Play here with the Maple Leafs. And today I've got for you guys our draft picks. It's draft day, it's drafts. You guys know what it is. If you don't know what it is, you missed last season's draft, which was a little bit bigger than this one. But today we are going to be using our picks, I guess, to hopefully strengthen our team. Of course, going into this we had three first round picks, a third round pick and a fourth round pick. I did make one trade in the off season, and it was a trade with the Avalanche. We traded away Jake Allen, Andreas Johnson and Andrew Shaw for a first round pick, and the reason we got rid of this first round pick, it was my own first round pick. It was the 31st pick of the first round, so a very late one, and in return we've got the second pick of the round. The players I've given up here, Jake Allen, who is a very good goaltender, but only a backup really to Bernier, and we did have Salak coming in anyway to play backup on a free transfer, so I was had a spare goalkeeper, I guess, going. Andreas Johnson I let go. He's a good player, but he only has third line potential, and I think he's getting close to that now. So I decided to trade him on. And the last player was Andrew Shaw, and this was a tough one for me. But the reason I decided to let Andrew Shaw go was because with the likes of Connor McDavid coming into our team, into our lineup next year, as well as the players like Bozak, Kadri, and even Komarov. Komarov, a player who's slipped under the radar a little bit, but seems to have improved whilst I've been at the team, perhaps deceptively so. We don't necessarily need that extra centre anymore. Granted, he did have the ability to play, out on the wing either side, but with us having Loktionov come into the team this year, another player who had some depth in the position that Shaw filled, it felt like it was a good opportunity to perhaps get this first round pick, and I've given up a fair bit. But Shaw's the big player leaving there. If we just do a quick comparison between him and Loktionov, you can see looking at the attributes, there's not massive differences between them. Granted, Shaw has definitely the better mentals, but I don't think we're losing a massive amount of a player in trading away Shaw. Yes, he's a great player, but I feel like we have a player who's as good as him coming in, and I feel like this early first round pick could be big for us. Just a quick look at the draft prospects. I must admit, I don't really know at this point, because obviously my hockey knowledge is limited, as you guys will know. I don't know how many of these players are real players and how many are just regens. I'm going to assume for the most part these players are real. Just a quick look at the top players to keep an eye out for. We have here Chaitram, I guess. You can see here he's Canadian, 18. Looks like a really good D-man. He's predicted to go first. He's got 14 creativity, which is really, really nice. And something that you don't often get in young defensive players. So he looks like he could be an excellent prospect. He's tipped to go at number 1. Sean Day, another defenseman. This guy, not quite so creative, but a little bit better rounded, all round, I guess. He has a few better technicals. His physicals, he doesn't have any glaring weaknesses really. He's a very good player. If we could get him with our second first round pick, that would be fantastic. Other players here, you've got Jake Kreisky, I guess it would be, who is a good player, but he's a centre which we don't really need, so I don't think he's going to be the kind of player we look at. There's also a few other players like David Quenneville, I guess is his name. He's 18. Looking at my scouts, they don't think his potential is that great, but he's ranked very highly by the league scouts, and he's predicted to go at number 4. And to wrap up the top 5, Brandon Sajian here, first line potential, flashy forward, looks like a pretty decent player. He's predicted to go at number 5 potentially. But anyway, we're going to go straight to the draft. It's an exciting time of the year. We do of course have the second pick, which is nice, so we can just get straight underway with this and start the draft. So the first pick is the Sabres. Just a quick look at the orders. So we have the second pick, which was the Avalanche pick we traded for. We also have the 22nd pick, which was the Dallas Star the Dallas Star pick that we traded for. And our last first round pick is the Anaheim Ducks pick that we traded away. So anyway, let's just get straight into this, I guess, and see who the Sabres are going to pick. So who did they pick? They drafted Sean Day. So out of the two number 1 and 2 picks, Sean Day and Chaitran, I probably wanted Chaitran, if I'm honest. He's the man who I was interested in. You can see one of my scouts really wants us to go for him. Another reason to go for this guy is the fact that we have some great young kind of offensive prospects, I guess, in players like Connor McDavid, but we lack that kind of perhaps franchise defenseman coming up through our ranks. Yes, we have the likes of Jake Gardner, but I think there's room for a bigger player, and I think this guy could be that player. Of course, we did also draft Polak last year, so maybe this guy can form a partnership with him, but I'm going to go with that kind of as our first pick. A bit of a no-brainer, really. So we pick him as our second overall pick, our first round pick, and we'll fast forward to our next pick, which, as you can see here, is the 22nd pick, and this was the Dallas Star pick that we had. So there's a few players here going around. Who do people want me to go for? Logan Brown. This guy looks pretty decent. Power forward, first line potential, really strong physicals, which I like the look of. And some okay mentals too. He doesn't look too bad at all. There's also this guy, Evan Fitzpatrick, who my scouts are quite keen on. Backup goaltender. Not too interested in him. What we should really do is, especially as we get further down the picks, we're going to want to do this. But of course, I did send my scouts out to scout the entry draft. So we do have scout reports for a lot of the higher ranked picks. So we will get them kind of on screen now so we can really have a good look. So I guess a logical way to do this would be to look at who, I guess, our kind of assistants and who our scouts really rate. And Logan Brown is the guy out of all of them who they all kind of gave 5-star to. So I'm tempted to go with this guy. I do have a few forwards, but this guy looks like a nice little player. Not too dissimilar to Komarov in terms of how he looks, in terms of being a very physical forward. So he could be a good player. A more talented version of Mikko, I guess that's Koivu with a bigger frame. Well, he is a pretty good player. What's he done for the Wild? He got 44 points this year. So I'm tempted to go with Logan Brown. I'm going to trust my scouts, and we will draft him with our pick. So that is our our second of our three first round picks. And now we have our last first round pick. And this could be where things get a little bit different in terms of who I should go for. So a lot of people are suggesting Jesper Lindgren. 3 to 4 potential. Just going to flick through these scouts. Our scouts think he's good. They're rating him high in terms of stars, but in terms of his actual projected career, it's somewhat underwhelming. Who else is there here who they rate? Michael McLeod, I guess. Third line potential again. Who's this guy? Evan Fitzpatrick. Oh, wait, he's the goaltender we already looked at. Anderson Josh. He doesn't look that great at all, and the projected career isn't that great. How about Patrick Lane? Is he one of... Yeah, okay, everyone rates this guy okay. He looks pretty decent, actually. Wow. Playing in Finland, I think. Yeah, he is. Let's just take a little bit more of a look at him. What are my scouts thinking? Second line potential? Tempted to go with him. We already have a few forwards in our ranks, but there's nothing wrong with us having a few excessive forwards. He also plays out on the right, which is a position where I do have Nylander, but he's obviously a centre who's been converted to right wing, so having a more natural right wing might be a nice option here. He got 34 points in his junior league, so I think we'll go with him. He seems to be the player out of all of these who everyone seems to kind of like the look of. And just looking further down the list here, it doesn't look like any of the other... there's any other players who kind of have the same kind of evenly balanced kind of every scout backs him, really, which is kind of nice. So I think we'll go with Patrick Lane. He seems to be the player who sticks out of the people who are left. So we'll draft him with our third and final first round pick. And we only actually have 2 picks left, and they are in the 3rd and 4th round. So, well, this is our next pick. Is there anyone here who's really hotly picked? Who's this guy? Pomaleo Cochrane, I guess. 18. How does he look? Third line potential power forward. A few of my scouts rate him. We're getting to the stage now where some of these players are players who they're okay, but as you can see here, limited potential. They're players who probably aren't going to make a mark on my first team, really. and there's very few left. Dean, Jack learned to read. Dean DeRuza, fourth line potential. He looks okay, but I think I'm going to go with this guy, Pomelio Cotran. How did he do at his junior team this year? He got 34 points in 60, and he got 26 the year before that. So I think we'll go with him. He doesn't look like too shabby a play. He's quite well rounded, not got crazy mentals, but I'm not expecting any kind of amazing players at this point. But a few of my scouts rate him highly. He has higher potential than a lot of the other players being suggested to me. And yeah, okay, so now we have one last pick, so we will fast forward to that. And who's been recommended? Alex Olkinura, I guess. Fourth line player, maybe. He looks okay. He's got some good physicals and some pretty solid mentals and technicals, but nothing kind of standout. There's this guy, Vladislav Garikov, who looks okay, but he's 20, so I guess he might have missed out on the draft a few times. Again, limited potential. What about this guy, Ricky Hunter? He looks quite good, actually, this guy. Nice mentals. I like the bravery, because we don't have loads of massive forwards. Plays out on the left. Good for 25 points per year. Skilled forward with fourth line potential. Might go with him. Is there anyone here who jumps out at me? Limited potential. What about our scout who was in Russia for a little bit? Ruzal Galiev. Third line potential. He's not bad. How old is he? He's 21. He's kind of a little bit old, I think. What did he do this last year? Okay, he got 1 point in 24. That kind of puts me off just a little bit. What about Sergei Kuptsov? He looks okay, this guy. 22 though. Third line potential. Got 28 points in 44. How did Ricky Hunter do this year for his team? He got 47 points in 60. I think we'll draft him then, just based off the numbers. 21 goals and 26 assists isn't too bad. Where's he been playing? He's been playing in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. Don't think it's one of the massive leagues, but I think we'll go with him. Is there any high-ranked picks left? Okay, well, Ricky Hunter, who we're thinking about drafting, is the 64th ranked pick, and this is the 119th pick we're making. So I guess we'll go with him to round up our draft. I think that's all our picks. Fast forward. Yeah, it is. So I'm kind of happy with the draft and how it's gone. It's worth noting here, I did try and make perhaps some late trades for some extra picks, but in the end I decided to stick with what we had. Looking at it, we took Chytran, who was predicted to go first, but he wasn't, which kind of surprises me a little bit. If we compare Chytran and Sean Day, Chytran, of course, the player we have drafted. If we look at the attributes, Sean Day probably has the better attributes right now, but Chytran has a few really nice attributes like his creativity, which might go up by 1 or 2, but aren't probably going to improve by leaps and bounds. And it's kind of, it's tight, and maybe Sean Day would have been the better pick, but I kind of like that little bit more creativity. I think that could be useful. We'll have to see how things go. I kind of feel like Chytran kind of fits our team because we do have a few fairly mobile D-men. The player who he's likely to play with in the future, of course, will be, if we find him here, Ryan Pilon, who we drafted last time out, who's another fairly creative D-man. If we just compare these two guys, they both do play at left D, which is a little bit of a concern for me, but they can both play out on the right, so we'll try and overcome that as we can. But if you look at these guys' attributes, yes, Pilon has more about him, but I think they're going to complement each other quite well, to be honest. So I'm kind of happy with that pick. Then, of course, the other picks we made, if we just have a quick review of them, a lot of them were more offensive players, which might seem a little bit odd to a few people watching this series going, well, you've got a load of really good players on the kind of offense and, you know, your final third. But really, it's kind of a case of, I've got players like, well, if I just show you, if we look at our best defensive players, we've got Fowler Yarmouson. So Fowler is 24. Yarmouson is late 20s at 29. And then you've got Percy and Gardner. Percy, who's 23, and Gardner, who is somewhere. He's here, 25, who looks very well-rounded. So in those 4 players, we've got some really good players. Combined with Pilon and Chaitron, we basically have 6 really solid defensive players who all have potential to be first-line players for other teams. So I didn't really want to add anything too much more to our defensive area. So we've drafted in a few younger players. You can see here kind of my preliminary kind of lines that I've set for this year. It's kind of a little bit kind of full of gaps because, well, it's a work in progress, but you can kind of see we're going to have Conor McDavid slot in at centre. Booth might move up one in the left wing thing. We might play Cruz as our 4th line left winger, but I'm still not sure. Things are up in the air when it comes to that. All in all, though, I'm pretty happy with the draft as a whole. I feel like we got some pretty useful players for us. If we just go back to our picks, you can see here we got Pomolio Cotran, who looks like a pretty solid player with 3rd-line potential. We, of course, got Patrick Lane, who looks very solid, if I'm honest. He's got 2nd-line potential, but he's 18, and he's got really solid mentals and really solid physicals to start. That strength is going to help him a lot. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets on. But all in all, yeah, I'm pretty happy with our draft picks. I feel like we got some pretty solid players, some nice coverage. I think in the next few years, we'll probably look to draft maybe a really decent goaltender. We'll have to keep an eye out on the draft. I kind of feel like we now have established a very young kind of team with some very good players with good potential who are really going to step up in the next few years. I'd be interested to know what you guys make in the comments of the picks that I've made and how they kind of might form my future, what you think about my plans, who perhaps of these draft picks I've made you like the look of the most. And yeah, other than that, that's going to wrap things up from me. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, smash the like button. Do greatly appreciate it. Episode 25, which will be our start of season livecom, will be coming your way soon. And other than that, it is me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.